everybody, welcome back to my channel. Tammy Talks here. Let's get into, and just like that, Season 1, Episode 2, Little Black Dress. Before we get started, if you're brand new to my channel, go ahead, hit that subscribe button. Thumbs up the video if you enjoy today's content. Go hop down into the comment section down below so we can talk about this. Stop asking for reboots. Y'all gonna learn to stop asking for reboots. Y'all wanted the reboot of this show 20, 30 years later. Y'all just had to know what was going on with Carrie and the gang. And now look what done happened. Y'all done killed Mr. Big. And I'm like, the people that are crying about it and that are so upset, y'all wanted this reboot. And this is why your favorite shows of your favorite shows from back then, stop asking to bring them back. It's not going to have the same feel. It's not going to have the same magic. It's not going to have the same whatever. You know why? Because it's 20 and 30 years later. You are a different person now watching it. These actors look different. Look how old these heifers are. They are old now, y'all. And it does mean that I'm not saying that they don't look good, but these women are older now. It's not going to be the same as when Sex and the City came on back in the day. It's just not, all right? So y'all done kill Big. I will say, though, I didn't think that he would actually die. I actually thought that this episode was going to start off with him, like, in the hospital room or on a stretcher or something like that, like ambulance stretcher, like getting into an ambulance. Like, I really did not think that he was going to die, but he did. So let's just get into what happened, y'all. So let's start with Miranda. Miranda gets the phone call from Carrie, middle of the night, and Miranda is listening to her son have sex in the room next to her. Now, I don't want to come across the way. But that is some white people shit. All right? And that is no offense to any white people that might be watching, but y'all let y'all kids have sex in your house. As a teenager, my mama would never. There were no sleepovers with girlfriends and boyfriends and stuff like that. That wasn't going. So, Miranda, get your son in check. The way that Brady talks to her, get it together, get it in check. Like, I don't think we would have expected Miranda to be this type of mother. I certainly didn't. But all right, y'all. So we see Miranda. She's at Carrie's house. She's helping her. You know, she stays with her throughout the night. You know, just being an amazing friend. The next morning, Miranda goes to school. When she gets to school, she has all these books. She walks through the turnstile so that she can go to class after showing her ID. So her professor, who she is like low-key obsessed with kinda, her professor comes in after her, can't find her ID, looking through her bag for it. Miranda goes into super saver mode and kind of like goes off on the security guard. This is my professor and she that and yada yada yada. And it's like, girl, she has to show her ID. My current job, when we're in the building, I work at a Fortune 100 company. We have to show our ID and our badges to get into the building. Even if security knows you, my guy, you have to show some type of ID or sign in. It was not a big deal. And her professor tells her, like, thank you, but that wasn't necessary, girl. I had the ID, just couldn't locate it. This is just, you know, you don't have to always... Like, her professor said this, it felt more like white savior mode, and it did. But Miranda meant well with it, but it's like, Miranda, what's going on, girl? What's tea? What's really tea? Miranda is drinking a lot, too. I'm going to chalk it up to stress. But, so, her teacher points out, like, girl, why do you have all them books when you can, why do you have all these books when you can just as well get you a Kindle and... you don't have to lug around all these books. Like, that's how we do now. And Miranda said that she enjoys, you know, the sound of turning the page and the action of turning the page. She's old school. So she enjoys having a book. So I'm like, that's all fine and well. So it's like she wants to be best friends with her teacher, and it's not going to happen. So then we see later, they are apparently leaving school. And we see Miranda is reading her book while waiting on the subway. And her teacher walks up and Miranda holds up her book, kind of like, look at my book. kind of like a funny. And it's like, girl, Miranda is so cringy. Miranda has been so cringy when it comes to school. So all of a sudden, we see these two men coming down, and they're walking with like a little short man or a kid or somebody dressed up as Chucky. I don't play with little stuff like that. Stuff like that is not funny. If I saw that, I would have skedaddled and walked away. Stuff like that is not funny to me. Not me over here. So the Chucky doll like comes up to her professor and is kind of like playing with her, like trying to be funny, and then he eventually grabs her purse, and so now she's tussling back and forth with this little Chucky doll, and Miranda comes over with her book and pow, baps him on the head, knocks his little ass out. And I said, see, y'all gonna stop all that playing around. Stop all that playing around. So she's like, yeah, couldn't do that with my Kindle. So while that is going along well, I think her professor was just like, thank you. And then she just kind of walks away like she gets onto a train in a different cab. She is not your friend, Miranda. She is your professor. And you just going to have to accept that and be good with it. Okay? So we then see Charlotte. So Charlotte meets up with Carrie the next morning to go look at funeral homes with her. While they're in the funeral home, Carrie's like super out of it. She's kind of stoic, just like probably processing and like going through the motions the best way that she can. I saw a lot of people criticizing Carrie, and it's like, you don't know what you would do in that situation until you're in it. So I didn't understand why people were kind of going in on her as to how they felt she should be reacting. But whatever. So Carrie's sitting in the funeral home, and she's looking around the room, and she's like, he would hate this. This is not how it should be. Charlotte, on the other hand, is sobbing because Charlotte feels guilty. She thinks that Charlotte thinks that Carrie is probably low-key blaming her, because if she would not have been with her at her daughter's recital, at Lily's recital, then she would have been with Big, and they could have caught the heart attack and all this other stuff. So Charlotte feels awful, and Carrie's like, I don't blame you at all. But Charlotte blames herself. So then we have one of the funeral home directors comes out to give them like a booklet or, kind of more information about what they can do and the services they can provide. And she assumes, because of the way Charlotte is crying, that Charlotte is Mrs. Preston. Charlotte is like, no. So Carrie is like, no, actually, I'm Mrs. Preston, and this is not going to work. So the funeral home director thinks that she has like completely effed up, which I'm sure that's in poor taste. But they're like, no, it's not you, it's me. So Carrie is like, I need to just do this by myself. Okay? She puts Charlotte in the cab and sends Charlotte off. And this is where you really see Samantha's presence being missed. Because Samantha would have come over, she would have taken charge, she would have planned everything for Carrie. Carrie wouldn't have had to think about that. She wouldn't have had to think about it. So that's where Samantha's presence is like really, really missed within their group. So we see that the friends are taking turns spending nights with Carrie. She plans the funeral. She doesn't want flowers. She has it in this like big open white room. The chairs are white. Like everything is white. There are no flowers, no signs, no nothing. And then it's just his casket. He is apparently going to be cremated. So they offered to let her rent a casket. She thought that was disgusting. So she paid for a casket, and then she's going to have him cremated. So Stanford is there, and he's like, I don't know what's going on with Stanford, but Stanford is like super bitchy this episode. So Big's assistant, his secretary, is like, she comes in, she greets Carrie, and she sits down in the front row because, I feel like people should know the first row is for family, but she sits down on the front row, and Stanford comes up and is like, no, we have assigned seats, yada, 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 you can move back there. And it was like the way he handled her was so unbelievably rude. And then Stanford kept saying, Carrie's my best friend. I have to sit right on her side. I have to do this. Stanford is upset that like Miranda is speaking. I would like to say a few words, and it's like, Stanford, what's going on, sir? What's tea? Like, what's really going on with Stanford? So Miranda, before she's gonna be one of the two speakers, she goes up to say a few words, and before that, she goes out to the bar and she wants a drink. The lady would say, "Yeah, we're not serving the wine until after the reception or after the service," and she was like, "Okay, well, like you can tell she kind of felt the way." So then she asked for some liquor. And then she like knocks me. I said, Lord have mercy. So she gives a few words. His brother, Big's brother, says a few words, and then they have this some music playing, and it's just like a recording or like a video that they put together of different pictures and videos of him. Very tasteful, very classy, very simple. That's what Carrie felt that Big would want. So the reception is kind of awkward. It's a bunch of random people coming up to her. Like they're showing, again, a bunch of old characters popping in, making it about them. But then we see Shay, who is out smoking with Brayden. Miranda comes out. Brayden sees Miranda, and he immediately like drops it. And so Miranda gets in Shay's face, and they're going back and forth about who are you to be giving my son, yada yada yada. Don't you card people? And you can tell that while on one half it's true, Brayden does he looks like a teenager. He does not look like a grown man. But on the other half, it's like you can't expect someone else to parent your child when you're clearly not. The real issue is that Brayden is not scared of you, Miranda. Brayden does not have any sense of boundary with you. He feels that he can do whatever the hell he wants to because you have allowed him to do whatever the hell he wants to. So that's why that's going on. And then we see when they get inside, Carrie introduces Shay to Miranda as her podcast boss. They agree to start all over. They didn't know who the other was. They know that, tensions are high, feelings are high. I mean, we're at a funeral. So, everybody's emotions are right here at the surface, just ready to So they agree to start over, but then we see like some type of like little spark with them, and I'm like, Lord, every show does not have to turn or have somebody exploring with being gay. And I hope that's not where that's going, but I get the feeling that's where it's going because that's what every show is doing nowadays, right? So then, finally, at the end, we see that Miranda and Charlotte are taking turns staying over with Carrie. It's Miranda's night, and Carrie gets a delivery, and it's basically Big's ashes. So the funeral home just sent them on over, and so she calls Stanford over. The three of them are sitting around drinking martinis, like just kind of washing the day off, helping Carrie stay in good spirits and all that type of stuff. Charlotte comes over because she said that she was passing by a magazine stand, saw some stuff she went to give her, and she notices Stanford because Stanford was supposed to go hide. Stanford ran back, and that's because Stanford wanted to be seen. He didn't run back just to get that martini. He ran back because he wanted Charlotte to see him. So she sees him, and she kind of feels like, why would you call Stanford over me? And Carrie and so then Charlotte goes into, you're mad at me. I knew you were mad at me. You're blaming me. And Carrie is like, no, I'm mad at myself for not leaving Wednesday like I wanted to. This is my fault. And Carrie says that in a way to like let Charlotte know nobody could have ever like foresaw this. We didn't plan this. We didn't know. There was nothing that anybody could have done to prevent this. Aside from maybe Big not, smoking all them cigars and drinking and eating all them steaks throughout his lifetime when he hadn't known her condition. So, she invites Charlotte in. She has Charlotte come in and she's like, you're too emotional. Like, I have Stanford come over because he's funny. He's gonna make light of every situation. Whereas you, Charlotte, like Charlotte's just a ball of emotion. But they all come in and they sit down and have some drinks, and we're gonna see what's gonna happen next. But for all the people that are saying that they don't want Peloton bikes now in the way that Peloton stock like dropped, y'all are dumb. Y'all are dumb. But going on a Peloton bike is not going to cause you to have a heart attack. It is not. It is Big's lifestyle. His lifestyle, coupled with a heart condition that he already had surgery for back in like season 5 or 6, that just his heart just gave out, y'all. Stop it. But I will be back next week for a new recap on episode 3. If you enjoyed the content, don't forget to like, subscribe. See y'all in the next one.